Hello everybody, a little video to show you how to remove the air conditioning condenser on a 2002 Subaru WRX. It's our personal car that we bought brand new, but just with my luck I managed to pick up a rock in the air conditioning condenser on the way home from work and punched a hole in it, so we're going to change it out. I've already bought from Amazon. Amazon's a wonderful thing. Bought me a new replacement condenser. Really wasn't that expensive, about $80. Comes with a receiver dryer on the end of it. So first thing you got to do is remove the grill. I've already popped the clips loose. You can see clip 4 places on top. Then if you look down inside there, you can see the clip on the bottom there, clip on the bottom on the other side. Just push them down with a screwdriver gently and the grill will pop right out. Well, in order to get the radiator out, I've discovered that you have to take the lower splash apron off. And being the lazy sort of guy that I am, I'm going to go ahead and take the top radiator hose clamp loose, take the burp tube off, take the hose out of the clip right here, and I took the coolant recovery bottle off out of the way already from the crossover line. And I'm going to see if I can effect enough room by removing this upper radiator hose to tilt the radiator back a little bit further without draining the entire coolant system. We're going to give it a shot. Okay, while you were gone, I went ahead and removed the upper radiator hose completely out of the way. Moved it off the outlet here, off the radiator here. Took the power steering reservoir loose from this mounting bracket to move the return line up out of the way. And that radiator will lean back, clear back up against the motor. And it should have enough room to slide out of there. Let's see if we can do this one-handed. Just like that. And there's my nice little rock peck right in the center of the tube, cross tube. You couldn't have done any better job. You know, while I had the condenser right here, here's the factory original. You can see the mounting posts on the bottom. Here's a replacement. Now, is that just cool? Comes with a receiver dryer already attached. It's got your mounting pins on the bottom. It's just a drop-in fit. It's not going to be any issue at all getting it back in there. No adapting, no fooling around, no nothing. Pretty cool engineering. Okay, we've got the condenser dropped back in place. It's kind of hard to see. It's underneath the core support. Wasn't that big of a deal to get the new condenser down into the peg holes in the bottom. It was a little bit more of a challenge to get the blind nuts started again, keep both of them straight without cross-threading them. But they're in. The trick is to put them in, get them started, and don't tighten either one of them down until you get them both started. So it's back in the hole where it needs to be. It's secured. I put the high pressure liquid line going from the condenser to the evaporator and the expansion valve up underneath the dashboard. It's already in place. Got the low pressure liquid line, or the low pressure gas, or high pressure, man, I'll get this straight in a minute. The high pressure gas line coming from the compressor. It just slides in there, the O-ring. Make sure your O-ring's good. Just slide it into the block. And see if I can do this without dropping it. Get your retaining bolt started. And we'll go ahead and tighten it up here in just a minute. We'll pull the radiator back to where it needs to be, and we'll start reassembling it. We'll put the retaining straps and the upper radiator hose and the bleeder tube and all that kind of good stuff back together again. And from there, it's basically recharging the system after you evacuate it. Make sure that all the moisture's out of the system, otherwise you'll freeze up your expansion valve. You won't be happy if that happens because the air conditioner quits. So anyway, I've got a little bit of noise in the air conditioning system as well. So I bought a new idler pulley. I'm going to take the belt assembly off here in just a minute, and we'll check the bearing. Okay, folks, I went ahead and took the top cover off, the protection cover off the top of the alternator and the air conditioning compressor, and loosened the adjuster off, pulled the adjuster off, loosened it first, pulled the adjuster mechanism off, and I think I found my noise. Don't think it's supposed to make that kind of noise. So I went ahead and bought me a new idler pulley. I'm going to put it back, take that old one off, put the new one on the adjuster assembly, and reinstall it. We'll go from there. Okay, we're back again. Went down to my local neighborhood O'Reilly's. Spent 40 bucks on a pulley and bearing assembly. Simply bolted it with the through bolt onto the old bracket, and we're just going to reassemble it. Okay, we got the idler pulley back in place. Tighten the 12mm heads up on the two mounting bolts. Now we're going to put my handy dandy socket on the end of the adjuster and just crank it until it's snug. We'll check, make sure that your belt's on your pulley correctly, which it appears to be. Not quite tight enough. There we go, that's pretty good. And all we got left is tighten up the bolt through the center of the pulley bearings. Get it good and snug. Test the belt one more time. And that's pretty much that. All we got left to do is put everything back together again. Okay, we're in the home stretch here. We'll put the little cover back over the top of the alternator and the air conditioning pulleys to keep people's fingers out of the belts. Make sure you tidy everything back up. Put your throttle cable back in. Make sure your little clip is holding the cable up out of the way. Put the already tightened up the clamps on the upper radiator hose at both ends. All you got left is a coolant bottle, which has a post on the bottom of it. And you just slide it down right in there, put it in the hole if we can find it down there on the bottom. Put your bolts back in it. But one thing I didn't mention earlier is when you put your air conditioning compressor in, or excuse me, condenser in, don't take the little plastic plugs that come in the lines. Don't take them out until you're just ready to hook the lines up. Hook up your recurrent tube at one end. Let's see if I can do it without getting my hand in your way. Hook it up at the other end. Clamp goes back over the end of it, and you got your burp tube on the top of the radiator to go back up to the filler neck. Pretty much that's it. Okay, we got all the mechanical parts buttoned back up, condenser in, the coolant recovery bottle back on, radiator back in, everything snugged up. Got my gauge set hooked up. My little handy dandy vacuum pump. As a footnote, you will have to be ASE certified, or at least certified by some agency that says that you're qualified to work on air conditioning, and you can't vent the gas to into the atmosphere intentionally. Although in my particular case there was no intention to it, that just happened on the roadway coming home from work. So anyway, what I've done here as a preventative measure, I've gone ahead and pulled the Schrader valve out of the low pressure line. I'm also going to change the Schrader valve in the high pressure line, both as a preventative or a precautionary measure. They were not leaking, but the system is empty right now, and they are 14 years old. So I figured, you know what, I went ahead and bought myself a little cap and Schrader valve kit. And since the hole in the condenser was real low, Probably lost a bit of oil along with the refrigerant gas, so I went ahead and bought an oil charge can. And we're going to get the vacuum going on it, and we're going to let it go for a little while. Okay, got my Schrader valves replaced, both on the low side back by the firewall, and the red one here on the high side on top of the motor. Got my little vacuum pump pumping away, and you can see the needle is way down there, about 24 inches of vacuum. Sorry for the discolored oil in the gauges, it's been around for a few years. I mentioned a little while back that you do have to be certified to fool with air conditioning to open the systems, and you cannot vent the air or the gases inside the system out to the atmosphere. One of my 4 ASE certifications happens to be in air conditioning, so I'm golden. And even though I do not have a recovery system here, to open the system or to empty the system that is not drained already unintentionally like mine was, if you are going to open the system, like if you have a compressor clutch or go bad or something, you have to open the system, you do have to take it to somebody that has a recovery system to extract the gas out of the system. And we're going to let it go for 10 or 15 minutes, but before we're due, we're going to go ahead and close the valve, isolate the vacuum pump. There we go. Now we're going to sit there and watch that gauge for just a second. It's not moving, so that means that the system is still sealed. Your system will hold a vacuum, it'll hold pressure. It's real hard to hold a vacuum. Pressure is not so hard to accomplish. So we're just going to let it go for a little while. We're going to open this back up. Open the high side back up. There we go. It's draining everything out of it. It'll go for a little while. Drain all the gas out of the system, all the air, all the moisture. Back in a bit. Okay, we're back. It held vacuum just fine. We're in the process of adding gas. We got our gauges hooked up to our 30-pound tin of R134A. We got the low side open, it's adding gas. High side, only about 150 pounds yet. And when we shut the gauge off on the low side, or shut the gauge down so it's not pulling out of the can. Right now the compressor is kicked off. No, it's actually on. It just kicked off. Now it raised to go back up a little bit. There it goes. Compressor just kicked back on. Yeah, see it's drawing down nicely. It's about 28 pounds, 27 pounds. On the low side, compressor just kicked back off again. You can hear it go on and off. We're going to let it go for a little while. I've got the gauges shut off now. Just going to let it go for a minute. Let everything kind of equalize. Okay, here in the garage, there we go. Now we get it to focus. It says that it's a little cooler than I thought. It is 75, 74 degrees outside. According to my chart, high pressure on the air conditioning gauges should be about 210 max. Low side around 170. I mean, on the low end of the high pressure, it should be 170. And it's actually about 175, 50, 175, about 185 actually. Low side's at 32 pounds with a compressor running. I'm going to let it go for a minute. Got everything shut off right now gauge-wise. I'm going to go ahead and stick this thermometer in the vent. See what kind of vent temperatures we're getting. Looks like it's at 52 degrees and dropping. Yeah, I think we're going to leave that for a day or two. Try it out under operating conditions instead of sitting stagnant in the garage. And if it stays cool enough, we'll call that good.